Sorry, I'm like, you
Beautiful.
guys see that? And I'm on mute as I would be.
No, it looks great, and we're ready for you to kick things off. Go ahead, Rana.
Perfect. Thank you guys. So, hello, my name is Rana Hyatt. I'm the founder and CEO of Solis, and I wanted to share a little bit more about myself. I grew up with parents that owned and operated hair salons throughout Calgary, and most people who actually have family-owned businesses know that you always had a job. And I did everything from folding towels to payroll. And for a few years in my adulthood, sorry, I had the responsibility of managing one of our salons where I fell in love with the beauty industry and actually discovered a niche market that for years had been underserved: on location hair and makeup services. In the first year of offering the service, we tripled our revenue and we decided to grow our freelance team across Canada. As I grew that team throughout Canada, earning some incredible awards and some magazine features, I kept noticing that the more our team grew, the more money I was making and the more money I was spending on sanitation. I was coming home after work to do more work: wash, rinse, repeat. I'm so sorry I didn't switch my slides, you guys. That's my dad. And then we grew our team. And I kept noticing that in order to avoid the risk of infection, because nothing is worse on someone's biggest day to actually give them, viral or, fungal or bacterial like pink eye and cold sores. So it's incredibly expensive to keep sanitary. We had duplicate applicators, and then it wasn't really sustainable. It was incredibly expensive to have things like, duplicate applicators just to throw away at the end of every client, and the time it took for us to actually sanitize our tools, and not even effectively because it only targeted bacterial and fungal things, which we saw in a lot of cases throughout our industry. If you've ever seen a fashion show, any one of your favorite ones like Victoria's Secret or just even fall or spring runways of our favorite brands, there was always a contraction of a pathogen. And actually, in 2020, we saw that MAC Cosmetics, one of the biggest industry leaders, get sued for $20 million because a junior staff member decided that it didn't want to sanitize its tools or the products and ended up giving a client a viral eye infection that resulted in her losing vision in her left eye. So unfortunate. So I thought this was like, was it a micro problem? Was it just in the way that we process sanitation? No, actually, in fact, during COVID, we saw it was a global issue and small businesses suffered. I mean, increasing our sanitation expense to 17% every year. So now our profit margins were really, really bleak. I wanted to actually take my background in chemistry and my experience in healthcare and solve this problem. So in 2018, we decided to do a bunch of research. How do we integrate hospital grade sanitation into the cosmetic space without disrupting the tools that are so delicate, like our makeup brushes, and do so effectively? So we created Solis, and I'll take a moment just to show you what it looks like. Solis is the first of its kind. It is a hospital grade sanitation device that is not only able to sanitize any density of tools, so we did it for the safety of your makeup bristles because they're actually the hardest to clean. But we're able to actually read the pathogens on your tools, adjust the cleaning time, and update you on if there's any product ingredient interactions that could be really adverse for your client. Like if they're suffering from acne, for example, you want to ensure that every product that you're using on their skin is really targeting those goals for them. How do we stack up? Solis is the first FDA, Health Canada on track to get those regulatory requirements. In the competition, it's 60 seconds to clean. It's a bacterial and viral disinfectant, which we're seeing really new. The great thing about it is we have this AI machine learning and the microbial library allowing us to really grow that data model there. We are far more sustainable at $499. It will completely be a 5-year goal for you. So you can actually just upgrade to the modular model. So here's the market size. At the total available market, you have 263 billion, 11 billion in terms of serviceable available market. And what we're hoping to achieve is 464 million in the next 24 months. The distribution cycle, because we've been in the industry for so long, thanks, Dad, we're going to enter through the beauty suppliers and salon because we have those really great relationships to target our professional artists because they're the ones most in need of this technology. So our first phase is North America through our beauty suppliers and cosmetic retailers. We actually have achieved our LOI with Holt Renfrew, Modern Beauty Supply, Cosmoprof, and we're just actually speaking to Sally's Beauty because they are sister brands. So 4 channels of distribution entry throughout North America. And we hope to achieve a $548 million 18-month revenue projection, which will grow at 4.2% year per year because we're looking to, as technology in terms of sanitation evolves, we're wanting to update and make that modular. We are manufactured in Alberta, which I'm very excited to say. And then we have our global market, so cosmetic retailers and our luxury clientele, because we know, similar to the Dyson, that although it was created for the professional artist, our luxury customer wants the same experience. So naturally, in our organic model, you'll see them kind of evolve into that space, and we'll tap into a $5 billion revenue model in the first year once we go global. And our pricing model for 2024, we're looking to sell our Solis hardware at $499. Obviously, when we get to scale, we'll be able to size that down and really iterate the technology and offer it at a more expensive price. Our software is a freemium model, so we have this really influx of adoptability because we are changing the way that people, professional artists, are sanitizing their tools because they're moving from water-based to waterless. So we want to grow that connection and understanding in sanitation. And by 2025, our hardware will still be there in the terms of price model, and then Solis software version 2, which is something that we're really excited to leverage, is the product recommendation. It's the smart ability to really target based on your personalized skin microbiome and adjust the product suggestions and update you on your cleaning time within the luxury market. Our roadmap. So in 2023, we designed our MVP here. You can only imagine what Amazon thinks we've ordered. We got 3D printers, circuit boards, basically created the ugly baby of Solis. And we iterated and actually utilized our Red Deer Polytechnic facility and got an actual beautiful MVP. We lab tested through BioHub X here in Calgary, and we verified the technology is in fact effective. And we really outcompeted our competitors. We applied for a provisional patent. We have 500 pre-sales, which we're really excited to say. And we grew our social audience because that's really important, especially in the cosmetic space, because you know that if you see it, you're more likely to buy it. We have some non-dilutive funding. We were personally invited to showcase our technology in Cosmetic 360 with Chanel specifically and L'Oreal's innovation team. We were top 10 for ventures, and we finally secured Alberta manufacturing, but we have sourced other North American manufacturers once we scale because we know that we need to grow and grow fast. So that's our goal for 2024. We're wanting to secure market share and growth. We have a life science fellowship that is on the horizon. We're really excited to hopefully announce that. We have also the Alberta Export Grant, which is $500,000, which will really reduce our R&D and focus all that revenue on sales and marketing and just market share. So we're looking to raise 1 million, and then we're also securing, actually next week, we're going to visit L'Oreal in Paris for our pilot project program, and Cosmoprof Worldwide, which is in March of 2024. And then we're wanting to go global in terms of our launch of our next generation of Smart Solis, smartification of the beauty sector, really leveraging our provisional patent and licensability through white labeling, because that would just actually make everything so much easier, reduce our manufacturing cost. And then obviously we would love to grow our team in terms of their expertise And we're gonna diversify in 2026, so expand into maybe into other sectors, particularly dentistry, which is a very interesting sector that we might actually be able to achieve a bit sooner than we anticipate. Our team is small but incredibly talented. We have Zaina, which is a serial entrepreneur and a massive connection network to the luxury market and all the know-who's, I guess. Jay Latta, which is the ex BMW AI innovation specialist, has been there for decades and has just recently become, he decided to retire, which is great. And so we got to utilize his talents. Dr. Chris Brown, which is an incredible microbiologist with massive experience and years in industry of like cancer pathology and microbiology and just how detectability is happening, which is why we want to use the pathogen detection in order to product recommend more smart, like intelligently. And Svenja, which is the life science team member here. So we love her expertise in terms of the types of grants that we're able to get and achieve, and our exportation plan, which is amazing. And like any cosmetic person knows, we need brand and marketing communications to interact with our customers, and that's Chloe for you. Our ask is 1 million. We're looking to utilize that and then have a 2.5-year runway. Once we get that life science fellowship, this will actually reduce the research and development and pivot it into the sales and marketing and talent acquisition, as well as customer acquisition. So I wanted to thank you guys all for taking the time to listen to my pitch. And we hope that you guys get to see Solis very soon.
Wow. So I saw the presentation last week. I think it was last week. 10 times improvement. I love this, that you've really incorporated so much of the feedback. Good job. I do have a question on one of your charts. It is titled Product Roadmap chart. It started with the MVP of 200, that one. So the growth is really impressive from 250K to 27 billion, but is that revenue or cost?
That's a great question. So as we scale, we're actually going to reduce our costs. So the price per unit for Solis at the moment, because we're manufactured here in Alberta, is at $499. Our cost is actually at $199. Once we scale it, once we exceed the injection molding production line, we'll be able to actually scale it right back to $100 a unit. And then once we innovate the technology, we're able to kind of sell Solis version 1 at a lower price point and leverage that that sales capture, the revenue capture, sorry, into our new technology.
But the dollars at the top, do they represent your revenue? In 2023, you have revenue of 250K. In 2026, you'll have revenue of 27 billion?
In 2026, that's our anticipated goal once we scale and diversify the patent. We want to be able to reduce the number. The reason why we're actually working with L'Oreal is actually to allow them to have distribution, manufacturing, white labeling on it, licensing that technology, and even in the hardware side, and being able to push like that value into the sorry, go ahead. I feel like you have a question.
Yeah, it's just that when I read the title of the chart, the most impressive thing about the chart is the growth. So I assumed this means revenue, but the title doesn't tell me that. It says product roadmap. It doesn't really tie it to growth roadmap or revenue roadmap. And you're supporting it with the product roadmap, but the punchline is, look how much we're going to grow in revenue. This is, X times fold over 3 years. So I would just change the title to be more reflective of the punchline you're trying to get to.
Okay. Do you think I should have it on 2 separate sides? I didn't want to like overwhelm everyone with slides.
This chart was the most compelling one I saw in the entire package.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I'll change that for you.
Can I just follow up on that as well? I agree that I stopped at this slide, and like Miriam, the biggest thing that jumped out at me was 250K in 2023 and 548 million in 2024. How? So if that is revenue, you really have to show how you're getting there. Like, what's the number? What's it going to take? Because if I look at the bullet points, I see some funding that you would have got, which are all great. But L'Oreal pilot project, wonderful. But what is in there that represents 548 million?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really what's going to happen with L'Oreal pilot project is that we are able to secure specific, like secure technology into specific units. For example, like whatever the L'Oreal house is L'Oreal's, hair sector and then their beauty sector, and leverage our technology in order to achieve those, that revenue. The other piece in the 548 million is like sanitation in the beauty sector hasn't really been innovated since 1964. So we know the adoption is like, it needs to happen because we cannot have another moment of our industry actually shutting down. So we anticipate the adoption to be really quick. And that's, I think, why we've actually moved far faster. I never anticipated to be in a early revenue state. Like for 250K, the pre-sales were so quick. So we knew that we had touched on a point, we were driving a message, and we even see like on our social media that, week by week, we are growing in terms of audience.
So another chart with supporting data would be very useful. You don't have to explain it all in one, but how you're going to get there, it is, Marissa has a good point.
Yeah, I decided to change the design.
This is very compelling. So, and you believe in it. So show why you believe in it.
Yeah. Should I put a use case scenario? So one of the big use cases that we have, especially with Holt Renfrew, was, they have $2.1 million in cosmetic retail space. One cosmetic counter store has $2.1 million in revenue. They spend close to $120,000 in sanitation. So with Solis, it'd be able to like kind of break that cost, allow them to, regenerate that revenue into actual proper, sellable items, as opposed to something that's going to cost their business.
You might want to try it out on the next practice.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
I feel like today I've like lost my words, but yeah, thank you.
Good, great.
Sue?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the black hat, Rana. So forgive me because I think your presentation is great, and I'm really worried that you're not going to get funding for one very simple reason. Estee Lauder's sales in 2023 were $17 billion. So what you're telling me is in the next 3 years, you're going to outpace Estee Lauder. You're going to be on par with L'Oreal, which is $40 billion. And they've been trying to do this for like 70 years. And even Dyson, Dyson is at $6 billion. And I'm having a really hard time swallowing this information. Mm-hmm. So as compelling as it is, mm-hmm. you need to show us how you're going to do it, or maybe revise your numbers. Because right now I'm not buying it, which doesn't mean I don't believe in you. I just, numbers are the easiest thing to fix, actually. So this should be a quick fix. But I mean, I guess after all, since I first saw your presentation till now, you've worked wonders with it. But this slide or these numbers have sort of stayed there. So I'm not sure if the other feedback you're getting is keep it, we believe it. And I don't know if anyone's raised this before, but if I was investing, this would show up as red flags for me.
Mm-hmm. So you're the first one to actually talk about it, and maybe it's the way I'm presenting it. So like I said, the sanitation space hasn't been touched on since 1964. Barbicide and Cinema Secrets and all these other, alcohol, isopropyl alcohol at 70% are the three main ingredients. And duplicate applicators is another expense that we have, and inquire. So if we eliminate those, if we say, hey, we're going to upgrade your, ineffective sanitation processes by this much, we take over the sanitation space, which means that we will now turn around and say, oh, hey, health regulatories, we want to be a mandatory requirement for the industry. And you're not just going into Estee Lauder as like, mascara, and there's millions of options in terms of mascara and millions of options in terms of lipstick, because that's really what you're getting consumed with, and the customer's not understanding the different types of product ingredient interactions, which is like a later goal of ours. We want to target sanitation and truly achieve effective sanitation and do it in 60 seconds and not in like 48 hours. So that's a market that hasn't been.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I'm sorry to cut you off. I understand that, but that still doesn't justify your numbers here, and at your price point at $500, it's probably cheaper for me to buy new brushes every single time, so these are the two sort of conflicting and potentially, big, ugly things that you might have to face moving forward, because they are, they really are sort of sanity checks, right? If L'Oreal did this in 70 years with all of their distributions, even if you were to piggyback on their stands, where are you getting this money from? You're telling me that you're going to sell, so at your current price point, you're telling me you're going to sell in 2024, 500, you're telling me you're going to sell about 1 million units in 2024.
11 million, yeah, something like
11
that.
million. Okay. So where are you going to make them? Do you have the manufacturing plant? Is that manufacturing plant capable of making 11 million? You're making 11 million in 2024, and then in 2025, you're making 100 million units. So what? You've just purchased 11 more factories? Where's the out? So the second I start to dig into these numbers, I'm not enjoying what I'm seeing, and I'm being very sort of really
No, I like it,
because this is you have such a great product. And when I was at the pharmacy the other day buying gifts for my relatives, my husband was going to visit, all I bought them was makeup, and I refused to use whatever they had. I was doing everything on my skin, and I kept thinking, I wish Rana's thing was here, because this would be so great. So you have a viable product. I think your business plan, it needs a little bit more spit and polish. Okay. And maybe rein it in just a little bit, and like go into the weeds of how am I going to do this? 1 million units on paper is easy. You just, you multiply it by 100 and you get numbers. 1 million units in real life takes 11 years to do. Okay. So think about that. And it's okay if you rein in your numbers a little bit. It's still going to be a very, very compelling, but potentially a much more realistic goal in terms of achieving it.
Sure. I actually appreciate your feedback. This is really good. Yeah, maybe it's a bit ambitious, but it's definitely like a market that we see. In terms of the numbers, I can justify their valuation, but I totally respect your feedback. That's really good.
I was thinking about the government regulations. That's a really good angle to go after. But how many years or how long would it take for that to be enforceable?
So for the hardware side, we actually are in the process of regulatory. We just passed our first phase. So that's really exciting for us in terms of being able to just to sell Solis as it is currently. On the AHS side for, let's say, Alberta, that's where I am. In terms of getting across the red tape, we've made strategic connections in order to really achieve that by 2025. So once we say, and when you see the industry from, it's growing, entry into professional makeup artistry, and just even people that are self-taught, it grows by 17% every year. The market is growing. So you're going to want to actually touch on the sanitation aspect. And yeah, maybe 5 billion is a bit ambitious for our global sector, but it's definitely a market that we can touch on for sure.
Ambitious is okay, Rana, ambitious is great, but then you need to be able to show what's under the hood. How? We're ambitious, but this is how we're getting there. This is how we're getting there. And then to Sue's point, you might see that, oh, this one might take a little longer than perhaps we thought, or, and then that will help you do your check, right? Once you get into the, how am I going to do this? Then you'll see if your number needs to be moved. It'll become evident.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps take a more pessimistic approach to your risk analysis. Think of what could go wrong. What are all the things that could go wrong, and what am I going to do about them if and when they happen?
I feel like growing up in the family business, that's all we think about. It's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And then one of us has to decide that we're going to do it without the other person's opinion. And then we do it. And then when it's successful, they're like, oh yeah, that was a great idea. We did great. I'm like, we didn't do great. It was.
It's not necessarily to say those things will happen, but if you've thought about them, you know that if they do happen, what then? And what's the probability? Is it 10%, 90%, or 50% for each one of those?
Yeah, that was one of the big things for me when we got verified in terms of a technological effectiveness. That was really key. I think I would have actually grown the 250K far faster had I not had the nightmare of being like, does this actually, I know it works. Does it actually work? And can someone else verify it for me? So when we got that, it took us a while to get that verified. And then once we did, it was like, I felt very confident in my sales ability because we have these connections, right? 40 years of being in the industry. It's just like you tap into all the networking.
Okay, awesome. It's 3:01, so we're actually over time. Is there anything else? I know Marissa also messaged in the chat, but is there that she had to head out? But is there anything else, that Sue or Miriam that you'd like to add just before we head off? No? Okay. Awesome. It was such a pleasure and very exciting to see both pitches and how they've evolved over the last few weeks. Getting ready for the 24th. It's a big day, the She-Boot Investor Pitch Day, but lots of time before that. So great job. I'm gonna upload the recordings. You should have access to them over the next 24 hours. And then I'm also going to pull all of the feedback as quickly as I can, and they'll be added to your Google Sheets. So Rana and Sergio will have access to those quickly. And just awesome work, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both.
I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.